Ethan stared, his heart slamming against his ribs like a caged animal. The boy, Matthew, he'd learn soon enough. Stirred just enough to crack one eye open. Those hazel depths locking onto Ethan's with a wariness that twisted something deep in the billionaire's chest. "What the hell are you looking at?" the kid muttered, voice raw as gravel. But there was no venom in it, only the exhaustion of someone who'd been running from shadows for too long. Ethan Blackwood wasn't the type to stop for strays. At 38, he'd clawed his way from a cramped Brooklyn walk-up to a penthouse empire overlooking Manhattan. Blackwood Industries, a gleaming monolith of tech and finance that swallowed competitors whole. His days were a blur of boardrooms and bourbon, his nights a careful dance of discretion. Gay in a world that still whispered scandal like a curse. But that night, with the city lights blurring through the downpour, something about the kid snagged him. Maybe it was the way his soaked curls clung to his forehead, or the faint bruise blooming on his cheekbone like a secret bruise on Ethan's own soul. "Easy," Ethan said, his voice low and steady, the kind honed in negotiations worth billions. He shrugged off his cashmere coat, Armani, dry clean only, and draped it over the boy's shoulders before he could bolt. "You're gonna freeze solid out here. There's a diner 2 blocks over. Coffee's on me if you don't swing first." Matthew eyed him like a cornered wolf, but the cold won out. He pushed himself up, joints popping in protest, and nodded once, sharp and suspicious. As they trudged through the storm, Ethan stole glances. The kid's frame wiry but strong, like he'd once chased dreams on a track field before life tripped him up. "Name's Ethan," he offered, holding the diner door open against the wind. "Matthew," came the reply, barely audible over the bell's jingle. Inside, the place smelled of grease and stale hope, fluorescent lights buzzing like judgmental fireflies. They slid into a booth, steam rising from mismatched mugs as the waitress, a no-nonsense woman with a name tag reading Dottie, poured without asking. Matthew wrapped his hands around the ceramic, knuckles white. "Thanks, but don't think this makes us buddies or whatever. I don't do charity." Ethan leaned back, studying him. Up close, the kid was younger than he'd thought. 21 tops, with a face that mixed boyish softness and hard-earned edges. A silver hoop in his ear caught the light, and there was a tattoo peeking from his sleeve. A small rainbow infinity loop, faded but defiant. "Not charity. Call it curiosity. What brings a guy like you to sleeping with the pigeons?" Matthew's laugh was bitter, a sound that scraped Ethan's nerves raw. Family reunion gone south. Turns out, love the sinner. Hate the sin means, get the hell out if you're queer. He sipped, wincing at the heat. "Dad found my grinder." Cue the sermon, the fists, the "you're dead to us" speech. Packed a bag and hit the road. New York seemed romantic till the bus broke down and the wallet got lifted. Ethan's jaw tightened. He knew that script. His own father had rewritten it with disinheritance and "don't come back" etched in permanent ink. Rough hand. "Where you headed?" "Nowhere. Everywhere." Matthew shrugged, but his eyes, God, those eyes, held a flicker of something raw, like he was daring Ethan to look away. "You? Suited up savior in the rain? What's your damage?" "Damage?" Ethan echoed, a ghost of a smile tugging his lips. He wasn't used to being the one interviewed. "Let's just say I own things. Buildings. Code. People sometimes." He slid a 20 across the table for Dottie, who pocketed it with a wink. "Stay at my place tonight. Guest room. No strings. Then figure out the road tomorrow." Matthew's gaze sharpened, suspicion warring with desperation. "Why? What's the catch?" "No catch." Ethan met his stare, steady as steel. "I've been the kid on the bench. Figure it's time someone threw me a line." The penthouse was a world away from the diner's vinyl seats. A sprawling glass eyrie on the 72nd floor, walls of windows framing the glittering sprawl of Manhattan like a conquered kingdom. Matthew stepped inside, dripping on Italian marble, feeling like an intruder in a museum. Ethan flicked lights, revealing sleek lines and abstract art that screamed money. But there was a warmth too, bookshelves crammed with dog-eared sci-fi, a worn leather couch facing a massive TV. "Showers down the hall," Ethan said, tossing him a towel stack. "Clothes in the dresser'll fit. Borrow what you need." Under the scalding spray, Matthew let the water scour away the grime, but not the ache. He'd been out for 2 years, hookups in dive bars and back seats, but nothing stuck. Too scared of the fallout, too young for the wait. Ethan. He was older, solid, with salt-flecked hair and green eyes that saw too much. Dangerous territory. Dressed in Ethan's two big sweats, Matthew emerged to find a plate of reheated pasta waiting. They ate on the couch, TV murmuring some mindless cop show. Conversation flowed easy. Matthew's love for indie bands and bad poetry. Ethan's tales of coding his first app in a dorm room blackout. Laughter came, tentative at first, then real, cracking the tension like ice under sun. "You're not what I expected from a billionaire," Matthew admitted, fork midway to his mouth. Ethan's brow arched. "And what's that? Shark in a three-piece?" "Something like, but you're human." Matthew's voice softened, his foot brushing Ethan's under the coffee table. Accidental, maybe, but neither pulled away. The air thickened, charged like the storm outside had moved indoors. Ethan's gaze dropped to Matthew's lips, then flicked up, a question hanging unspoken. "Get some sleep, kid," he murmured finally, standing abrupt. "Doors open if you need anything." In the guest room, sheets crisp as new money, Matthew lay awake, heart pounding. Ethan's cologne lingered on the clothes, woodsy and warm, stirring things he hadn't let himself feel in months. Across the hall, Ethan poured scotch, staring at the city lights, cursing the pull in his gut. It had been years since he'd let anyone close. Too many ghosts, too many headlines waiting to pounce. Morning brought awkward coffee and a job offer. Intern at Blackwood, entry-level coding gig. Pays decent. Room till you land on your feet. Ethan's tone was business, but his eyes said more. Matthew hesitated, pride warring with practicality. "I don't want your pity." "Not pity. Talent." Ethan pulled up Matthew's old GitHub on his tablet. Abandoned projects from community college, clever algorithms half finished. "You've got skills. Use them." 2 weeks blurred into routine. Matthew coding in a corner office, stealing lunches with Ethan, evenings on the couch dissecting movies. Ethan's dry wit clashing with Matthew's sarcastic fire. Touches lingered, a hand on the small of his back guiding him through a crowded elevator, fingers brushing over takeout containers. The tension built, electric, until one Friday night, rain lashing the windows again, it snapped. They'd cracked a bottle of Cabernet, Matthew's laughter loose from the wine. "Admit it," he teased, leaning close. "You took me in 'cause I look like that actor you crush on." Ethan's chuckle died as Matthew's knee pressed against his thigh. "You look like trouble," he said, voice husky. Then, quieter, "The best kind." Matthew's breath hitched. He closed the gap, lips tentative on Ethan's, soft, seeking. Ethan froze for a heartbeat, then surged forward, hand cupping Matthew's jaw. The kiss deepening into hunger long denied. Hands roamed, shirts shed, bodies colliding on the rug in a tangle of need and release. It was messy, fervent. Matthew gasping Ethan's name like a prayer, Ethan murmuring praises against sweat-slick skin. After, tangled in sheets on the floor, Matthew traced the scar on Ethan's collarbone, a relic from a bar fight in his 20s. "This," he whispered, "is real." Ethan pulled him closer, heart full for the first time in years. "Yeah, it is." But love in the shadows came with barbs. Whispers rippled through Blackwood's halls. The intern with the boss? Too cozy. Too quick. Ethan's ex, Victoria, a sharp-tongued exec he'd dated for cover, cornered him in the boardroom. "He's playing you, Ethan. Some gold-digging twink with daddy issues. Wake up. Jealousy doesn't suit you, Vic." He shot back, but doubt seeded. Matthew felt it too, the side eyes, the HR memos about fraternization policies. Nights, he'd wake from nightmares of his father's rage, wondering if he'd traded one cage for another. But Ethan's arms grounded him, their lovemaking a ritual of affirmation. Slow mornings in bed, Ethan's lips mapping every inch, whispering, "You're mine, Matt. All of you." Then the conflict ignited. A rival firm, Hargrove Dynamics, led by the venomous Richard Hargrove, who'd been gunning for Blackwood since a hostile takeover bid 5 years back. Leaked docs hinting at insider trading. Ethan's team scrambled, but the damage stuck. Stock dipped, headlines screamed, "Blackwood's empire cracks." In the chaos, Matthew's phone buzzed with unknowns. He ignored them at first, but one night, Alone in the office late, he answered. Matthew? It's your mother. Please come home. Your father's changed. We miss you. Lies, he knew, her voice too polished. The offer of forgiveness laced with conditions. But it cracked him open, old wounds festering. When Ethan found him curled on the couch, tears silent, he held him through it, no questions. Family's what you make it, Ethan said, kissing his temple. We've got each other. Deeper they fell, weekends escaping to Ethan's Hamptons beach house. Waves crashing like applause, sand between toes, bodies entwined under stars. Matthew opened up about the poetry he scribbled in notebooks, verses of longing and loss. Ethan confessed his closet, the parade of beards and buyouts to keep the world blind. I want out, Ethan admitted one dawn, waves lapping their feet. With you, public. Screw the shareholders. Matthew's heart soared, but fear nipped. What if they take it all? What if they take you from me? They won't. Ethan's vow was fierce, sealing it with a kiss salt-tinged and sure. Betrayal slithered in on a Tuesday, unannounced as a thief. Matthew's phone lit up during a strategy meeting. Another unknown, but this time a photo. Him and Ethan, tangled on the beach, snapped from afar. The text, we know. Play ball or it goes viral. Meet at the old warehouse, 8 p.m. Come alone. His blood iced. Hargrove. It had to be. Richard's smirk in every deposition. The way he'd eye Matthew like fresh meat during industry galas Ethan dragged him to. How? The beach was private. Their love a guarded flame. Unless. No. He shoved it down, focusing on code. But the seed sprouted thorns. That night, Ethan was buried in damage control. Kissing Matthew hurried at the door. Love you, he murmured, oblivious. Love you more. The words tasted like ash. The warehouse loomed on the Hudson's edge, a rusting skeleton from New York's industrial ghosts. Matthew arrived early, hoodie up against the dockside wind, heart jackhammering. A figure emerged from shadows, not Richard, but a slick operative type, mid-40s, suit too sharp for the grit. Mr. Hale, the man said, voice oiled silk. Or should I say, son of Richard Hargrove? Matthew reeled, the world tilting. What the? No, my father's a mechanic in Ohio. You have the wrong guy. The man chuckled, sliding a folder across a crate. Birth certificate, DNA printout, photos of a younger Richard, arm around a pregnant woman who was Matthew's mom. Adopted? Sure. But blood doesn't lie. Daddy dearest kept tabs. Waited for the right leverage. You're our ticket in, kid. Get us those merger files from Blackwood's server. Do it and the photos stay buried. Resist, and your little romance becomes tomorrow's tabloid gold. Billionaire betting rival's son. Horror clawed up Matthew's throat. All this time, the disownment a ploy? His father in Ohio, a cover story Richard planted to toughen him up, mold a weapon? Memories flashed. The sermons too rehearsed, the fists pulled just shy of breaking, pushing him out to hone his edge, groomed, for this. I can't, Matthew whispered, but the folder burned in his hands. You will, or Ethan's outed, ruined, and you're the villain who dragged him down. The man vanished into the night, leaving Matthew gutted, rain mixing with tears on the docks. He didn't sleep. Dawn found him at the kitchen island, Ethan's scotch bottle half empty, the merger files open on his laptop. Access he'd earned trust's hard way. Betray him, or lose him. The choice carved him hollow. Days blurred in torment. Matthew fed scraps to Hargrove's contact, dummy data, delays, buying time while paranoia gnawed. Ethan noticed the distance, the flinches at touch. Talk to me, Matt. He pressed one evening, backing him against the counter, hands gentle on hips. What's eating you? Work stress. Matthew lied, hating the fracture in his voice. He pulled Ethan into a kiss, desperate to drown the guilt, bodies moving with frantic grace. Ethan's mouth hot on his neck, Matthew's nails digging crescents into broad shoulders. It was salvation in sin, release in the press of skin. But after, in the quiet, Matthew traced Ethan's sleeping face and whispered, I'm sorry, to the dark. The leak escalated. Reporters swarmed Blackwood's lobby, drones buzzing the penthouse windows like vengeful wasps. Victoria cornered Matthew in the break room, nails like talons. I knew it, Your poison, Hale, or whatever your real name is. Get out before you finish him off. Hale. The name echoed, a key turning in forbidden locks. That night, alone, Matthew dug old emails, buried records. Truth spilled. Born to Richard's affair. Shuttled to Ohio for optics. The coming out, a test Richard orchestrated to break him malleable. A pawn in a war of egos. His queerness a weapon sharpened on familial hate. Rage boiled, hot and clarifying. He wouldn't betray Ethan, but the photos loomed a guillotine. Climax crashed on a gala night. Blackwood's annual fundraiser at the Met. Chandeliers dripping light like liquid gold. Air thick with perfume and pretense. Ethan, tuxedo sharp as a blade, introduced Matthew as my partner. The word a gauntlet thrown. Gasps rippled. Flashes popped. But Ethan's hand in his was anchor. Across the room, Richard Hargrove raised a glass, eyes gleaming predator. Charming evening, he drawled later, cornering them by the Monet. Ethan, always the showman. And you, Matthew. Or should I say, son? Ethan's world stuttered, champagne flute cracking in his grip. What the hell did you just say? Richard's laugh was oil on water. Surprise, old foe. He's mine, blood and bone. Sent him to cozy up, crack your vaults. But look at you, falling for the fox in the henhouse. Ethan turned, face ashen, eyes searching Matthew's like a man drowning. Matt? Tell me he's lying. The room spun, whispers swelling to roar. Matthew's throat closed, tears pricking. I didn't know. Not at first. Then, I tried to stop it. The files, I faked them. But the photos, the threats. He choked, reaching for Ethan. I love you. God, I love you. Please. Ethan recoiled, the freeze absolute. Body rigid, gaze shattering into ice. 20 years of armor, cracked in a heartbeat. His son? No, rival spawn, a serpent in his bed. Betrayal tasted like bile. Every kiss replayed tainted. You. Who are you really? He whispered, voice breaking. Not his. Matthew pleaded, voice raw. He threw me away. Used me. But you saw me. The real me. Security swarmed. Richard cuffed amid snarls of you'll pay for this. But the damage etched deep. Ethan stormed out, leaving Matthew amid shards of glass and stairs, heart flayed open. The fallout was biblical. Blackwood stock cratered 15% by morning. Headlines screaming tycoon toyed by tycoon's son. Gay scandal rocks tech world. Pundits dissected it on CNN. Ethan's lavish lapse in judgment. Matthew's cunning climb from streets to sheets. Protests erupted outside Hargrove's tower. Love winds trending alongside betrayed billionaire. Ethan vanished into seclusion. The penthouse a tomb of echoes. Calls went unanswered. Emails stonewalled by assistants. Matthew, evicted by policy and pain, crashed on a coworker's futon. A junior dev named Alex, kind-eyed and questioning, but Matthew's thoughts looped on Ethan, the curve of his smile, the way he'd hum off-key to Fleetwood Mac in the shower. Guilt was a constant companion, sharper than Richard's schemes. His father, the word soured now, languished in Rikers, bail denied on espionage charges, but victory tasted like defeat. Lawyers circled Matthew, offering deals. Testify, get immunity, a payout to start fresh. He burned the contracts, instead pouring rage into code. A whistleblower app, anonymous leaks exposing Hargrove's dirt, embezzlement, blackmail rings targeting queer execs to force closets. Nights, he'd walk Central Park, bench avoided like plague ground, scribbling poetry in a battered journal. You woke me from rain-soaked dreams / gave me a skyline of your skin / now, I'm adrift in the storm we made / loving you was my only sin. It was catharsis, raw as vomit, but healing's first stitch. Ethan, meanwhile, unraveled in the Hamptons, waves mocking his isolation. Scotch blurred edges, but not the ache. Matthew's laugh echoing in empty rooms, the press of his body a phantom burn. He'd been a fool, he knew, building walls against love, then handing the kid dynamite. But the freeze? That was fear, old as his father's slurs, whispering you're broken, you'll break them too. Victoria visited once, bearing spreadsheets and scorn. Fire him, Sue. Rebrand as the victim. Ethan waved her off, staring at a photo on his phone. Him and Matthew at the beach, unguarded joy. He didn't betray me, he said finally, voice cracked. He saved me from myself. Revelations came in fragments. Private eye reports. Matthew's Ohio upbringing a farce. Bruises documented but unreported. Richard's visits sporadic. Appraising. The kid hadn't chosen this, born into war, wielded as sword. Ethan's freeze-thawed to fury, not at Matthew, but the machine that chewed souls for profit. He reached out indirectly. A burner phone left at Alex's door, message simple. Bench. Midnight. If you want. Matthew came, hood up against December's bite, breath clouds in the cold. Ethan waited, collar turned against wind, looking smaller somehow, vulnerable, human. I froze. Ethan started, no preamble. Not because of bloodlines or boardrooms. Because you saw me, really saw, and I panicked. Thought I'd lose it all. Matthew's eyes glistened, arms crossed tight. You did lose. Me. I get it. No. Ethan stepped closer, voice fierce. I lost sight. You're not him. You're you, poet, coder, the guy who quotes Whitman while debugging loops. I love that guy. Still do. Air stilled, the city's hum fading. Matthew searched his face, hope flickering fragile. What now? The world's watching. They'll say. Screw the world. Ethan's hand found his, tentative, then sure. We rewrite the script. Together. But romance's embers needed fanning. Trust a bridge rebuilt plank by plank. They started slow, coffee at the diner, Dottie's knowing grin welcoming. Matthew moved back. Not to the penthouse but a brownstone Ethan bought nearby. Space to breathe. Dates were clandestine poetry. Rooftop picnics under stars. Ethan's head in Matthew's lap as he read verses aloud. Drives upstate, windows down, hands linked over gearshift. Intimacy reignited tentative. First touches hesitant, mapping scars like new territory. One night, snow dusting the brownstone windows, Ethan knelt slow, lips tracing Matthew's hip bone. Eyes locked upward in worship. Tell me if it's too much, he breathed. But Matthew's fingers in his hair urged deeper, gasps filling the room like confessions. It was slower than before, reverent, Ethan learning the language of Matthew's sighs, Matthew yielding to the safety of surrender. After, curled skin to skin, Ethan whispered plans. Coming out official, a foundation for LGBTQ plus youth, shelters, not benches. Yet shadows lingered. Richard's trial loomed, subpoenas dragging Matthew into depositions. Reliving the grooming, the feigned disownment, under fluorescent glare. He molded me to hate myself. Matthew testified, voice steady but eyes on Ethan in the gallery, drawing strength. The verdict. Guilty, 20 years, empire dismantled. Justice, bittersweet. Publicly, Ethan went nuclear, press conference at Blackwood HQ, Matthew at his side, hands clasped. This man isn't a rival's son. He's my partner, my equal. And yeah, we're gay. Deal with it. Shares rebounded, allies emerged, queer influencers amplifying, donations flooding the foundation. But private storms brewed. Matthew's poetry turned inward, doubts surfacing in late-night talks. Am I enough? He'd ask, vulnerability cracking his voice. Without the drama, the headlines, do you still want this? Ethan's answer was action. A ring, simple platinum with infinity engraving, slipped on over takeout tie. Forever's not a headline. It's this you, me, building something real. Spring thawed New York, cherry blossoms riding pink against concrete, mirroring the bloom in their lives. The foundation launched with fanfare, Haven House, first shelter in Brooklyn, beds for runaways like Matthew once was. He led workshops, sharing code and verses, watching kids' eyes light with possibility. Ethan funded it quietly, his presence a steady hum, picking up stragglers for pizza runs, his dry humor disarming the wary. Romance deepened, roots twisting strong. Weekends in the Hamptons now held hands with others, friends, not flings. A queer book club, potlucks where Matthew's mom, the real one, tracked down post-trial tearful apologies over Zoom, sent recipes from Ohio. She'd left Richard young. The adoption escape hatch she regretted daily. You were always light, baby, she said, voice thick. Don't let shadows dim you. Ethan's family? A harder thaw. His sister, Claire, flew in from Seattle, eyeing Matthew over brunch. Heard you broke my brother's heart. Fix it. Her hug later was fierce seal of approval. But humanism's heart beat in the quiet fractures. One night, storm raging like their first, Matthew woke screaming. Nightmare of benches and betrayals. Ethan held him through it. No words, just heartbeat sync. We're more than the plot twists, he murmured. We're the rewrite. Climax's echo faded, but growth demanded its due. Matthew's app went viral, exposing corporate closets, sparking lawsuits and liberations. Ethan proposed formally at Haven's opening, on one knee amid balloons and bewildered teens, ring glinting. Marry me, Matt. Not the story, the man. Tears yes, cheers erupting, a kiss under confetti rain. Years folded forward. By 2030, Haven spanned coasts, Blackwood a beacon for inclusive tech. Matthew published benchmarks, poetry chapbook blending code and confession, bestseller in indie circles. Ethan, silver threading his temples, still coded late, but now with Matthew beside, their son. Adopted at 3, a wide-eyed queer kid from the system, curled asleep nearby. The bench? They returned yearly, November 12th, leaving flowers and notes for the lost. We made it, Matthew would say, Ethan's arm around him, city lights winking approval. No fairy tale perfection, arguments over dishes, boardroom stresses bleeding home, the world's gaze ever judging. But love, humanistic and hard-won, endured. Two men, forged in rain and revelation, choosing each other daily. In the end, it wasn't the freeze that defined them, but the thaw, the slow, stubborn melt into something unbreakable. Because who you really are isn't blood or betrayal. It's the hand you reach for in the storm, and the one that pulls you home.